and action.
That was a money clap.
That was a very good clap.
Good clap. Okay, so I don't even know what month it is. It's 2024, I do believe.
Yep.
And we've got Joe Heathman here. We've talked about Heathman in numerous podcasts in reference, and Heathman's done a lot of testing for us. And in complete transparency, Joe is my seed dealer.
Yep.
Joe is the owner of South Fork Seed Company. Cover crops, row crops, even lawn grass,
Forages, lawn grass, you name it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Here in East Central Kansas. And I wanted to bring Joe on to talk about life as a seed dealer because, I mean, Joe's a farmer. Joe's one of my best friends, and I mean, walked a fair amount of life, seeing each other in life. And I told him, I said, dude, I want you to come on and I want you to talk about, because, I mean, we all, as farmers, talk about seed dealers and this and that, but Joe is a farmer and a seed dealer in one, which you see that sometimes, but not all the time. I'm like, I want to talk about a couple of different things, but largely what can farmers do to help their seed dealer and be better understanding of the life of a seed dealer and what do they put up with, which I know is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, especially from March, April, May, even June, and then trying to get the returns and stuff done by July. You've got a 5-month window there where it's hectic. And then you got a couple months to breathe. We get into harvest in September and October.
And then it's pre-order.
And then it's time for pre-order. And then you've got pre-orders going on to Thanksgiving, usually the hectic time. Then you get to the end of the year where you try to collect on stuff, get guys to get their orders in, all the rewards customers, try to get things done by December 31st. And then keeping the business and bookwork straight between the 31st of December and the 1st of January. Because if you don't, it could really throw a wrench in things. So it's very hectic. You wouldn't think all year round, but it seems like most of the year there's something going on with seed.
Yeah, well, I mean, here we got corn in the ground. Yeah. Most guys are wrapped up on corn. Some guys are, hauling butt on beans. Mm-hmm. And I know you changed geography and guys are planting beans first. But I wanted to, then we go into forage production, hay production. There's a lot of hay production here. Yep. For people don't know. We live in grass country. Yep. So you've got your sedans, your millets.
Yep. You got the oats, you got Sudan grass, sorghum Sudan, you got the sorghum, you got milo, you got I think I said oats already, but then you've got the rye. If you guys want rye, you got that cover as well. And you can really dive deep, depends on what dealer or what company I deal with, where I get product. Some companies got a lot more specialty products than others, and some companies got more of the large volume supplies. So, if somebody calls and says, hey, Joe, can you get me this? I've got 1, 2, 3 guys I can call or suppliers that I can get a hold of. And then I got to figure out who's got the best deal and who's got the best service. So it's not just, hey, Joe, get me this. There's a lot of research behind my end of things because some of the products are the same. Some companies got the same product, but then you got to figure out where it's coming from. Okay. Is it going to be a good quality product? They've got different brands, different hybrids, and I spend more time researching, trying to figure out, is this going to work for my guys? Is this going to work on your farm? I call, guys out west, in dryland country, somebody, hey, how did this work out in your neck of the woods? Is this something that I can put here on, say, I've got 100 acres out by Matfield Green, top of the hill, completely, utterly awful ground.
Barren wasteland.
It is not fun. I hate going up there, but it's one of those places that trying to maximize potential, what can I put up there that will make me the most money? Mm-hmm. Because it is not double crop soybean acres.
No.
But will it grow a forage sorghum or something that I can make some money off of?
Which is, for some reference, that is the common practice here is to plant wheat and immediately get the planter behind the combine and put double crop beans in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is here, I'd say that's done on most all acres
anymore. Yeah, anymore. 10 years ago, it was something that we did just because we thought we could make a little bit extra money on. But now that they're insuring them, it's a common practice to do.
And the genetics have come so far.
They have. Yep, they have. And we've been getting some lucky weather patterns as well where guys feel pretty comfortable going back with a double crop soybean. So there's a lot that plays into that decision. But
well, and the cost is you got to pay to keep the field clean all summer if you don't plant it.
Yep.
And I don't know, seed is not insanely. Usually there's some programs to get, some double crop seed programs for beans.
Yeah.
But yeah. What is the number one thing that farmers, let's say the fall, let's take the year in the fall. And I already know the answer to this is guys thinking ahead would be the most helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to, say, the fall, I think most anybody that's listening to this podcast that's, involved in agriculture is aware that most seed companies have a pre-order program. We have at Singular, we got pre-order seasons that guys can capitalize on some discounts in the summer and in the winter so that we can help forecast, project, so on and so forth. Anyway, on the seed side, what can farmers do, and what do farmers need to keep in mind going ahead at pre-order season? Let's just start there and work our way from there all the way to the harvesting of the crop.
So I work with Taylor Seed Farms out of White Cloud, Kansas. They're a small family-owned company. So you got to keep in mind supplies are limited. We've got a surplus of supplies early, but as the year goes on, people order. Everybody wants to sell out. So if you get to me in the pre-order period, you're more than likely going to get what you want for seed. If you put it off till, let's just say December even, you're past that pre-order window, supplies are going to be the more limited.
First come, first serve.
Exactly, first come, first serve. Taylor's goal and my goal was to sell out of everything in my shed.
Yeah.
But if you call me, May 1st, wanting a corn hybrid that was the top seller last year, the top seller for a reason, it's going to be gone.
You ain't getting it.
So, yeah.
60-15.
60-15 is an example that, a lot of guys wanted last year. It's a good 115-day Tricepticorn. I wanted it, but they called, I think it was end of December, and said, hey, Joe, we oversold. I'm like, oh, no, what am I going to do? I don't want to take from my customers. So I'm like, I've got other hybrids that I'm comfortable with. Swap them out. Let's just do that. Keep my guys happy, and we'll keep on rolling. Because like you said, I farm as well as sell seed. So,
you also want to produce as much yield on your acreage.
Exactly, yeah. I'm trying to maximize my potential and get the ROI where I want it, and it wasn't the ideal thing, but at the same time, keeping customers happy is, number one goal for me.
Yeah.
So, and that's something else you got to think of. I am a farmer as well. I like to meet with these guys and communicate with them for what we need, what I need. And most of the time, they're pretty good about that. You especially have been great. I've got a lot of guys that are good, but there are just a few that make me bang my head against the
wall. Well, I don't know. And there's farmers that don't want to share their favorite hybrids. Like, I don't want my neighbor to know what I'm planting because he might do better than me. Dude, if the hybrid is the only thing that's saving your butt from, your perspective is, in my opinion, wrong. If you're scared your neighbor is going to find out everything you're doing, you got other problems in the line. But at the same time, I don't know. I'll get a Snapchat from Heathman, and he's like standing in my cornfield. Well, this looks pretty good.
Yeah, right.
I as a farmer, as a customer, I find it, super. It puts a lot of confidence in me that I don't have to research my hybrids near as much as maybe some guys do. And maybe I should research it some more, but I really don't feel like I need to because Joe cares more. I mean, he puts more stress into what's going in my ground than I put into what's going in my ground.
I hate seeing somebody fail. I hate failing myself, and I know how that feels.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put something on somebody else that's not going to work. Right. I understand different management practices require different, inputs. And I'm not going to go sell somebody that doesn't want to put anything into the crop. I'm not going to sell them the top racehorse variety. I'm not going to sell them something that's going to, you and I would plant for maximum yield potential. I want something that's going to handle a lot of stress, handle a lot of different environmental stress. But my main thing is, guys, I hate seeing somebody fail. So if I can spend extra hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it takes to look into this to maybe find a wart in some variety or hybrid that might be an issue down the road for, my neighbor or somebody 3 counties away, I'm going to do that research. I want to make sure that I set them up for success. That's my number one goal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It's just people get caught up so tremendously in the company. Yeah. And that's, I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here, Brad Taylor would kick me right now. I'm wearing a DeKalb hat just because I put it on this morning. There's companies out there that, I don't know. I'm not going to get into the politics of things.
Let's not.
But I don't know. I think it's so important to have a good relationship with your seed dealer because, I mean, that's one of your big costs of the year is your seed, and making sure that and ask your seed dealer tough questions. How does this? Let's just say 60-15. I asked Joe. I was like, what are some of the perks of putting 60-15 on the river bottom? Our river bottom tends to get wet, high mag soils.
Yep.
It's gummy. It's noon dirt. Before noon, it's too wet. Afternoon, it's too dry.
Yep.
And it is a hard brick rock to work with, or it is slop.
Yep. And then luckily, I don't say luckily because we farm some of the similar soil.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it luck, but there's a little bit of knowledge that goes into that.
We're fortunate in crossing and overlap in regards to our operations.
Yes.
Hey, I did this and it worked.
Yep.
But I mean, one of the valuable things that I got this year was, hey, 60-15 tends to have the ear height seems to be a little taller.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we turn off way too wet or way too dry on another hybrid 8824, which is my absolute, that's the one. Get people in the podcast for me talk about my highest NCGA trial, which is still not number one in Kansas by any means, but it's 240 bushel dryland corn.
Yeah.
Was 8824.
Yeah.
But Joe cautioned me, said, hey, is it super wet or super dry?
If you turn off super wet and then end up dry, it seems like the ear placement gets a lot lower. And that was where my firsthand experience was able to caution you, for one or the other. I had a 112-day hybrid next to 8824, which is 113-day. And myself running the combine, I hated it. I hated it running in
because your snouts are just barely tapping the ground trying to get the ears in.
That is not fun. Nobody likes that, especially myself. I'm not as good of a combine operator. I prefer the planter. Right. But when I'm running the combine and my snouts are hitting the ground, I'm just on edge. You hop out of that field and hop into the other 112-day hybrid, and you're like, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
This is nice. Relax.
Well, I don't know. And that hybrid's been awfully good to me in regards to it works good on a wide range of soils.
Yeah.
But that's a piece of advice that I got from Joe and from what he saw is, hey, ear height's a little better on this gummy ground, which is a valuable thing on the river bottoms. Yeah. But anyway, so pre-order time, guys are being proactive, and some guys can. It might just come down to finances.
Yeah, and that is totally fine. And my main thing is, order. You don't have to pay me. Order. Because more often than not, there's different discount periods. There's different payment windows. And if you come in and say, hey, Joe, I want to order this, but I can't pay you right now, I'm fine with that, because I can work this out to where we just, whenever you're come pick it up, I can bill you for it based on whatever discount period we're in. And you're going to get your name on that hybrid that you want
before it sells
out.
Well, and that's why your relationship with your dealer is so important.
Exactly.
Instead of finding whoever sells the cheapest seed, it's like, hey, say last year it was a bad year in a lot of places, and guys are like, hey, maybe I can't pay in November yet. Or it's a late harvest. I don't have enough funds to pay from all my seed.
And this last year's been tough.
It has.
There's a lot of things that guys have to take into consideration that are different than what normal years are.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing about me as a seed dealer. I try to be as flexible as possible because I know what we're looking at. I don't know what other seed companies do or other seed dealers do. I know what I do. Mm-hmm. I try to keep my guys happy. I try to be as flexible as possible to help them however I can. Now, granted, I may miss out on sales or miss out on, opportunities to sell guys because I'm not as big or not, I don't have the backing like the larger seed companies do. But I tell you what, you're going to get genuine customer service from me. And that's what I try to strive myself for.
Sure. Yeah. And it's, I don't know, it's one of those deals where, you know, like you said, it's, hey, I can't afford to put my name on corn in November. I think I can in January. Let's just say a guy can't. Mm-hmm. You got a relationship with your dealer. I would, at least in a lot of cases, if you got a good one, can help you out, you know, or forecast. Just looking ahead, I think is so valuable.
And I think the thing we can take out of this, just like you said, relationship with the seed dealer, but communication. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you communication is the key for everything. Seed business, if you just communicate me what you're needing, what you're wanting, or what you think might happen, you know, I can be 10 steps ahead. Whereas, you know, you call me May 1st, said, hey, I need this, this, and this. I'm like, I'd love to help you, but my hands are tied right now.
And then don't get mad at him for not having it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, just communicate with me. And I'm so much better. I usually don't stress too much, but if somebody calls needing something I can't do, that's when I get a little bothered. You know, I love helping guys, and if I can't help you, you know, that puts a little bit added stress on me, because I just love to make sure guys get what they need, when they need it, and how they need it. So,
yeah. Okay, so pre-order season is behind us.
Yep.
Now we're into March.
Yes. Delivery time.
Delivery time.
Yes. So, as you know, we had our third baby, April 2nd? I lose track of the time.
Yeah.
I know the first two like the back of my hand, but now this one's so fresh, I'm still trying to memorize it. But
Takes
April 2nd, had a lot of guys that had a lot of corn, you know, western Kansas, Marion County, that area. So I called all these guys and said, hey, is there any chance we can take this corn early? Every single one of them was, you know, hospitable. They were great to deal with. Nobody complained. It made my life so much easier. Now, is this something I'm going to do in the future as far as deliveries go? Probably not to this extreme, just because circumstances are different. But I love being able to get this corn out to guys before I get in the tractor and get busy.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, like you said, you had 1,100 acres of corn. That's what I did this year. You know, I had 1,100 acres of corn put in the ground. I like to get in and I like to go. Mm-hmm. So if I'm...
He does.
I don't like to mess around. So when I'm in the tractor and going, I like to I hate doing it, but I like to turn my phone on silent. I like to focus on what I'm doing and just absolutely
farmer in the field.
Crank out.
I want my stand to be right.
Yep. I got things going on that I want to focus on, but you know, most guys will call and say, hey, you know, I'm going to come by, pick up my seed. I'm like, you know, I'm out in the field. There's not much I can do for you.
Yeah.
If you
can you pick me up on your way?
Yeah,
you got to pick up.
Give me a heads up. You know, a couple days notice, I can usually have it ready for you. But if I'm out planting on a 150 acre field and I'm in the middle of it with no ride, chances are almost zero that I'm going to be able to get something for you. But if you communicate with me, let me know kind of ahead of time. I can usually make something work or line something out, or you know, have somebody take it to you. Mm-hmm. But you know, the last minute is where I get a little bit itchy. You know, I don't.
Oh, everyone
don't appreciate it very much.
I don't know anyone who likes to live life. And okay, I don't know who in regards to running a business likes getting those last minute calls.
Yeah,
I don't. It is frustrating and it's very tough to navigate.
Now, on that same breath, I've been there too, where I'm in the situation and I need something.
I'm 8 bags short. There's rain coming,
and
I'm almost done.
I am fine with that. I will. Yeah. I will move heaven and earth trying to get that seed to a guy as best I can. But yeah, for example,
Exhibit A.
Hey
man, I'm short.
Yeah, but I was done, or I wasn't done. I was pretty much done, and you had your seed. You were done that day. You know, it worked out well, and I'm more than willing to get guys finished up. But if you like I said earlier, if you call me needing 2 pro boxes of corn seed that day. Man, come on. Give me a little bit more than this.
Right.
So, like I said, I'm pretty easy going for the most part, but I will get a little antsy.
I could, and maybe Ben and I have ranted before about customers or just people. I mean, and it's learning. I've been there learning. You're sitting there, and you get frustrated with, say I'm a farmer that calls Joe, and I get really frustrated that Joe doesn't have the seed I want right now. He's here to serve me. Yeah. You know, and it's just, golly, man, those people, you begin to run a business, and those people were frustrating before. Then they become a solid irritation.
There's some people I would just rather not do business
exactly.
with. And
proactive people are fun to work with.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yep. They want to get things done. They have a plan of sorts, and they're just so much easier to deal with.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd rather, deal with, get with
tend to
guys
have their
that know what
life
they're doing.
together better.
Yeah, for
on many aspects.
Yeah.
And I mean, gosh dang, I still got lots of work to do on my end, but it does make life go substantially faster.
Yeah.
Because it's at least in farming, it's like the calendar flips. We see it on the company side so much. Calendar flips, April 1st, guys like, oh, hot dang, I farm.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about that.
I
need some seed, and I wonder if my planter's doing okay shape. Does it need rebuilt? Well, I probably ordered some fuel, and who's got fertilizer? And
I hate to be the day I'm needing a plant, getting my planter ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been there, done that so many times. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Heathman's in there in the field, just planting away. I'm sitting there beating the piss out of my planter, just trying to get it.
But really, I probably should have took a day and done a little more research. I got a different planter this year. And
say he had a completely new planter this year, a completely new setup.
Yeah, a whole new system. I went to the precision side of things, and there's some things I probably could have done better. And I know now, but it's hindsight.
It is.
I'm going to learn from it, learn from mistakes. If you don't learn from them, then what are you doing with life, right?
Yeah. It rained.
Yeah, it rained. I got lucky.
Rain fixes lots of mistakes.
Yeah. Rain makes any farmer look good.
He said it.
He
said it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay, so that's delivery time. And then, planting. We kind of dived into, we merged into the whole planting season.
Yeah.
But,
planting season's not too bad for the most part, as long as guys kind of pick up their seed, give me a little bit of heads up when they're ready to roll. Planting time's not bad. I don't mind planting time. Most guys I've dealt with back before even I became a seed dealer myself. My dad had the business before I did. He was a dealer. A lot of these customers I inherited. We had a system. We had things that we did in a certain way. And a lot of the customers I inherited have been awesome. They're great. They know when to call. They know when to show up. They know what I need, what they need. It's streamlined. The newer guys, we're learning, as we go. They want to know where the seed shed's at. They want to know, because see, I don't have just one seed shed. I got one container. I've got a school bus that is emptied out.
It works.
I make
it
it work.
To fit the bags in the bags, smaller
small
quantity.
bags, the specialty items, and then I've got an old box car. It was on a railroad train and had a derailment, and they brought it in for us, and I can fit, I think, 4 semi-loads of seed on that box car.
It works darn slick. They got a pad poured out front, and the forklift just whoop, whoop.
It is unique in its own way.
It is very unique, but boy, it works all right. It works
great. Yeah, you can load. Most of my guys have seed trucks instead of seed tenders. Yeah. So we made the pad to where guys can back up along the side, and I load many bulks instead of pro boxes into their trucks. Yeah.
We're archaic out here. We've got old 2-ton trucks with augers on the back.
Yep, them old Westfield augers, or mighty handies is what they call them.
Really?
Yeah, mighty
handies.
Yep. They're a pretty good one. They're a little taller when you raise your bed up.
Okay.
They reach a little higher in the air. So the central fill planters, much better deal. The Westfields, they're a little low. Depends on where your hinge point is on your truck. We got 5 seed trucks. It's a little bit excessive, but sometimes they're all being used.
Heathmans are gear junkies. That's kind of a little back. Like Heathmans will pull the head off of an engine just to tell their injectors good morning.
Basically.
Yeah. That's about what it is.
If we're feeling up to it that
day. Exactly. If not, we'll just pull the training and call it good.
Yep. So we got the 5 seed trucks, which come in handy because I loan a couple of those out to some of my customers. I've got a seed tender I'll loan out too. But then back to the storage facilities, I've got an old barn that was built in 1896, I believe, and I store a lot of my little bags, like we'll get a pallet of 50 bags. That's where all that goes. Or say a pro boxes, because pro boxes, they take up so much room. My box car or my container, you can't fit too high. So I kind of stack them up in that barn, and then I've got a shed in the town of Strong City where I put a lot of pro boxes because of weatherproofing. And
that's a good central location.
It works out great because I've got guys that are mainly like you, and I've got a couple other customers out here towards Elmdale. It works out good for them. They don't have to come clear to Bazaar. So if I can just kind of strategically plan where everything's placed, I can get certain customers their crop when they need it at like Strong City for you and your neighbors out here versus my guys Matfield, El Dorado, that area. I've got everything at Bazaar. So yeah, that's just kind of the background on that. But planting time, back to that, it works out really well. I've got a system laid out, and guys are pretty good about communicating with me and what they need. So
once corn's over with here, beans seems to go pretty smooth.
Yeah,
because everybody's planters are working, and here we plant corn before beans. But and beans is a little corn's. It's pretty timely. I mean, you're busting, trying to get in, dodging storms.
Quite the narrow window. We always talk about narrow windows, but corn, it seems like, you and I talk, we're like, well, it's the 5th of April. What's the rush? And then we blinked.
Then the 12th gets here, and we're like, at least for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, gosh dang, I got to roll.
And looking back, it's a good thing we did what we did.
Oh, yeah.
You can't tell the future, but you can sure try to plan for it.
Oh, yeah.
And we did pretty good this year so far. Granted, we're in a flood watch now.
We are in a flood watch. We're both sitting here doing sound check before, and both our phones go off, and it's flood watch.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, but every year, dude.
Yeah, every year.
Every year we go through this.
Yep. And like I said, that planting the river ground, in Strong City, I thought, if I get in there and get that corn up, then all I can do, get it up, it drowns out that field. It's just almost a guarantee you're going to have to replant something to that. But if I can get that corn up, it'll more than likely survive a little bit of standing water. Now, if we have a river back across it, we're in trouble anyway.
Yeah.
Nothing you can do.
Doesn't matter what's in there or when it was planted.
No. So, get that corn up, get it going, and it's out of your hands from there. So, yeah, like you were saying, once we get out of this corn planting, guys, I don't know if they necessarily relax, but everybody's a little more easier to deal with.
Yeah, that's done. It's the most expensive crop.
It is. Yeah, a lot of risk. I always call corn high risk, high reward. If you have a failure, you're like, oh gosh, I'm never doing that again. This was terrible. But if you have a successful year, you're like, man, I want to do more of that next year. That was great. So, high risk, high reward.
Plots.
I love plots.
He does.
I love plots.
He loves plots.
I don't like doing them, but I love plots.
You got a few of them in this year, right?
Yep. We've got one over about halfway between Marion and Hillsboro. I think you've got some ground within a
South
mile.
Of it.
And we've got our usual in Strong City, which is both of these are direct research plots. Everybody calls them contest plots or, competition plots. We like to look at them as a research. We'll put all these hybrids, varieties through 3 years of testing before they're released. Prime example of one that we had last year was a 3.8 Extend Flex bean. It failed in the plots. Kicked it out. It caught me off guard.
Didn't it do too good for 2 years?
2 extremely good years. We thought it was going to be the next big thing. And in the third year, it had a failure.
Just fell on his face.
And it's like, wait a minute here. Let's not put this out there because if it fails in year 3, who's to say it's not going to fail in year 4 for these farmers?
Yeah.
So the worst thing for a seed company is to get a hybrid or variety that works well in plots and then send it out to the farm and it drops on its face. That doesn't work well for seed companies. You got chances to get things right, and most farmers, myself included, have blamed the seed. For, say, management practices, weather issues. So,
you always blame the seed first.
Yeah, that's the first thing they go
to. Farmers fall back.
Yeah, and I'm guilty myself of doing that before I've dived into the back side of things. There's a lot more to it than just the seed. And that's something I hope guys kind of take a break or take a step back and think, okay, what else contributed to my failure this year? Last year we burn up. We did everything we could possibly do to push our crops. And it was quite the humbling experience to see 3 on the yield monitor for soybeans, 3 bushel to the acre.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into, what, not necessarily the money because it was.
There were fields we didn't cut.
I know it.
We just drilled wheat straight into it.
Yeah. And I've never seen something like that.
No, I don't. That's first time for me.
Yeah.
That we just flat didn't cut a crop.
Very humbling experience. We had a corn crop. Yeah. Beans, Yeah, I don't know how many acres we didn't harvest. I know we didn't harvest any double crops.
No.
We had several hundred acres of double crops we just walked on by.
Yeah.
It's just I know that's the first thing guys blame is the seed, but that's the thing. We're trying to research back to these plots and see what kind of weather conditions they can handle. So these corn plots in the Strong City now, for this is the third year, I think we've had pretty decent corn crops these last 3 years. Mm-hmm. Have we had a complete and utter failure? Wouldn't say that.
No, last utter failure was 18, and wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. But, we're looking at like hybrids like 6015 that came out here in the last couple of years. That was one that was put out in the first year of research in 2018. So, we're seeing that. We've got 1 year of drought, statistics on it. And then last year we saw it down in Chanute. We've got research plots down in Chanute, and it was supposed to be a top yielder, go-getter, don't plant on any high upland ground. It's bottom ground only. Don't try to put this into stress areas. Well, we saw it reaching down here south. It's like, hey, we stumbled on something here. And that's what I love about these corn hybrids. We've stumbled on so many surprises.
Yeah.
It's like, man, this is all right. Like 8824.
8824 in Marion County.
That was a complete surprise for me.
That ran neck and neck with DeKalb
6595.
I think that's what 6595 right there.
I hated
you, me, or our crop scout. We both have the same crop scout.
Yeah.
And he'll flat tell you whether it's not there or not. It was. I cut it. I wanted to know because that is 6595 is a darn good hybrid.
Yep.
And I had 3 bags sitting on the back of the planter, and I ran out. And I was like, and I kind of had this in the back of my mind that
I think I told you, Josh, I don't like that.
He didn't want me to do it.
No,
he didn't want me to. I said, dude, it's 3 acres, or I think I was 3 or 4 acres.
Yeah.
And anyway, threw a bag. It was a bag and a half, and rolled. And he's like, "Don't do it, man. Don't do it." I was like, "I'm doing it. I just want to know."
Yeah. And I'm glad you did. We had a plot over at Marion last year, and it's just like, man, this corn. Take a second for me here to brag about it. You and I, we strive to get 200 bushel acre farm average. I guess not whole farm, field average.
Field average. Yeah.
You and I both hit it in 2020. We're tickled to death, and I think I hit it with 8824, and
we hit it in 21 too.
Yeah, we did. That's
2 years in a row.
Yep.
A 200.
You did it with 88. You did it with a cropland number, I think, in 2020. I'm not sure if
I think they were both Taylor.
Were they?
Both years was 200. Let's see, it was third year. Yeah, 2 years. Yeah, it was Taylor both years.
Yeah.
And then last year I did not hit it, but that was just because of the drought.
Yeah, and
I didn't hit it in my contest field. Did in another farm, but
right, and that
wasn't in a contest entry.
8824, it pushed 200 bushel on a good year, and then last year it was holding steady at 100 to 110, and I'm like, this is interesting. This is very interesting. And so the best things I can find about these hybrids is the surprises.
Yeah.
6015, for example, last year down in Chanute was top yielder in 60 bushel, average plot data. It's like, that's interesting.
Yes. 60 bushel an acre.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still pulled ahead.
And it was still pulling ahead when that's a hybrid that is strictly bottom ground, good ground. It's like, hello, surprise.
Bring that baby on.
Guess what else we can do?
Yeah.
So you planted it over at Marion County, and I'm like, have at her, pal. I think it'll be fine.
I planted a quarter section to 6015 with full confidence.
Yeah.
Full confidence. I had it on the 107. I talk about the 107 on here occasionally. I had it on the 107, and man, it rocked. It rocked.
Yeah.
I'm not here to like hype hybrids of this out. I'm talking, this is what we can relate to because this is, these are numbers that we work with. 115 days. Last year, legit 60 bushel corn that's what they cut.
Yeah.
The whole area, and I would rather see, it's fun to see what just in a plot, and there's checks.
we got
this
checks.
year you've got how many hybrids in the plots? Or excuse me, not hybrids, companies.
In the company in the plot we did over in Cottonwood Falls, I think we had 6. I'm trying to think back. We got Pioneer, we got Bex, we got DeKalb, we've got NK and Dynagrow or Agrigold. We've got all those in the plot, and I tried to keep it pretty similar in maturity. I wanted to go 112 or higher. And I didn't pick where each one went. I drew a map, and I thought, well, I've got 3 Taylor hybrids, I got 3 Pioneer, I got 2 DeKalb. I'm just going to draw straws and put them wherever it works. And so if you want to talk about completely unbiased, that's what we're doing. I want to know, if we're as good as I think we are, I want to see it on paper. I want to see the data. I can't go out and say, yeah, we've got a good product when we don't.
And you can find, let's just say a hybrid from another company's, does a little bit better. Say it's number 1 and 6015 is number 2. Let's just say hypothetically. Well, then let's research that hybrid a little bit. Do we have something? It's kind of the adaptability. Is there a hybrid in the lineup that we didn't think necessarily would work in this soil as well in the soil type, but hot dang, it might.
Yep.
Let's move it in next year and start the testing process.
You can't be surprised if you don't experiment.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how are you going to know if you don't try it?
Absolutely.
I like to tell a lot of guys that they ask me how it does in their area, and I want to see what it does on your farm. I want to try it. Try 2-3 bags. Let me know what it does, and then next year, I don't have to sell you the farm this year, but if I've got a good potential hybrid,
try.
You're darn right. If it's something that I think will work, I want to see 3 or 4 bags on your place.
Yeah.
And then next year you might be calling me. If you don't want to buy from me, that's fine. But if I've got a hybrid that is competitive and will beat others, say that you've been planting for years, give me a shot.
Yeah.
Give me a shot.
Yeah. Plots. That's plots. How important is it to you that your customers show up to your plots on plot day?
It used to be very important to me. But I've found that I would rather meet one-on-one with guys. I like the plot days. I think they're very beneficial. But you go back, this is kind of a weird example, but you go back to the old days when teachers had more time with their smaller classrooms. You could divulge even deeper. You can talk about things at a greater detail. If I've got 35 or 40 people at my field day or my plot day, there's probably guys that are pretty thin. There are probably guys that don't want to ask questions because they're scared to, or they don't want to sound, idiotic.
Like an idiot.
Yeah. And if you've got 3 guys or say 5 at the most, you're more than likely going to have better engagement from them guys. So I will continue putting on my field days, plot days, just because I want to, have Brad Taylor there. He's always there at my plot days. Rick Model, my sales manager. I've got the guys there to answer the questions, but at the same time, I'm taking notes from them guys. I go to all their plot days and I take notes to answer questions for my guys that may come up later in discussion. So let's just say you and Bean and Ben and somebody else wants to go look at my plot. I'm all for it. I want to go. I want to detail things.
And that's what I do. That's something, and I don't know, every seed dealer is different, but ask your seed dealer if you can walk the plot with him.
Yeah, I would love to. I love walking the plots.
He does, at least, and that's, try to make, because it is a large decision, the seed you plant in your farm. It is a large expense. It's like I'd call Joe last year. I'm like, hey, Saturday morning, I grab Wes. You want to meet Saturday morning at the plot? I'd like to walk some of the hybrids and just take a look. And I want to look at root responses. I want to look at ear height. I want to look at foliage. I want to look at plant height.
Yep.
I want to look at how the development of the ears is coming along, pods, height of plants, the mass of the plants.
We can even look at nodulation. I mean, there's so many things you could look at, and that's what those plots are there for. They're for you guys to do some research plots. They're not only for Taylor. They're for their research area, but it's also for us to do the research as well. Yeah. And guys, you always hear you've only got one chance to do this right every year. Let's start it off with a full deck of cards. Let's see.
Time. You don't have time to do it right, but you always find time to do it twice.
Yep. And nobody likes doing it twice.
No, that is very unfulfillingly unhumbling or humbling.
It is. It's very humbling, and nobody likes to do it. And that's why we try to do it right the first time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's as a farmer, that's been one of the greatest values that I have found is contacting my dealer, in this case, Joe. Hey, let's go walk the plot. Because I've got things I'm looking for specifically that I have learned from Ben or maybe the Iowa guys or maybe, Mason out west or however, just things I've learned elsewhere that, hey, in this environment, I would like to see this in a hybrid.
Yeah.
The 4.7 Extend Flex beans, those really popped to me. I really like those when they came out. I plant 30-inch rows. It used to be 15s, and now I'm on 30-inch rows. I liked how the bean plants looked in regards to height and the branching. Branching was very important to me.
Yep. Yeah.
How closely can we stack nodes? Because I make no money on a plant.
No.
I'm not in forage production. I want pods.
Yep.
What is this plant capable of doing at 24 inches tall in regards to pod production?
Right.
And because we've got the bigger the plant, the more water we use, and if we turn off hot and dry, we'll have 80 bushel plants.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And 30 bushel yield.
Yep.
We've seen it many times.
Yep. And from the other side of that, walking the plots, I learned about your operation. I don't get to spend time walking your guys' fields like you do. If you can walk that plot with me and you might mention a tidbit here or a trait that you'd like to see. I walked that plot so many times. I'm like, hey, you like, a taller plant. Let's go look at this one over here. It gives me a chance to learn about your operation and find something that may fit better than other hybrids or varieties that fit my own operation.
Yeah.
So if I can learn more about you,
mutual benefit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Don't go in thinking, I'm here. What can my seed dealer do for me?
Yeah.
Go in as just I don't know. If you can't go into that, then maybe you should look for a different seed dealer or look in the mirror and ask if maybe I'm the problem here. If I can't go in and, now don't go in as a know-it-all. But the more information you can give your seed dealer about you, the more the good one will try to help you.
That's exactly right.
But you want to talk about the controversial topic, and okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot here.
Oh, that's all right.
I've thought about this ahead of time. We talk a lot about lower populations. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to ask your opinion on that.
Okay.
What I'm going to ask is, how does it feel? Because it is obvious as obvious can be, the less seed a farmer uses, the less seed sale that goes on. Mm-hmm. So how does that strike a seed dealer? But then you've also got guys that everyone knows he's putting on too much seed.
Yeah.
Like that dude does not need to use that much seed. How is, and I don't know, maybe I probably should have warned you about this thought process.
I actually had I had a thought it might come up.
Okay.
So I've kind of somewhat prepared for that.
I don't want to know what you plant population wise.
Sure.
I know, I say that.
Yeah,
I know exactly what Joe and I
plant.
Joe and I have very, very similar farming practices. I mean, we have the same tractors, planters, strip till bars, combines.
Yeah, we've kind of grown
together.
Have.
Yeah, and it's, what's been super cool and totally non-seed related side is, hey, I'm having this problem with my monitor. You got any, hey, yeah, I do know. Go into this page and this and that. But
support group.
Yeah. Or, hey, I just broke a gathering chain on a plant or on my corn head. Yeah, I got one in the shop.
Yep.
Bag. Let's go get it.
Yeah, we run a lot of the same equipment. So, just come over and get something.
Yeah, so it's interesting when we say our operations overlap a lot. There is quite a bit. So if it works for Joe, I'm going to be more in tune to it. But, we found that to combat the, big rank soybeans, to lower our seed populations, we get a shorter plant, we get better branching, better pod retention, better pod fill.
So what I'll go on that is my own research. We'll start with corn. Something I've noticed, we tried the 30,000 seeds to the acre. We tried it. We didn't notice any difference. I didn't see it burn up any faster.
Took more risk.
Yeah, it took a lot of risk. I didn't see any difference Is there any need to spend that extra money? No, I don't feel like there is. So let's back it down to 26. Are we seeing any difference? Maybe that might be the top end of the threshold for us. If you've got some highly productive ground, 26, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I've got guys call and say, how low do you think you can go? Well, I've gone down to, I think, 14,000 this year on some of my ground. There's places that absolutely burn up and there's nothing you can do about it. So why throw 26,000 seeds out there when you can throw 14? Be smart about it.
Right.
Know your soil.
How much annual rainfall do we generally get?
Oh gosh,
20s?
28, I think.
So we're 20. So just because for
We're
some
on the upper
guys,
end, I think.
some guy, I mean, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast and they're going to hear 14,000. They're going to, crap a brick.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll be 150. We got to 121 degrees last summer one day.
We have a high average rainfall, but we get it in April and May.
Yeah,
We
and then
don't
it
get
shuts off.
anything in July and August, and very rarely September.
Right.
Our average rainfall comes in a short period of time.
It does.
So we fight wet soils in the spring that dry up like rocks by midsummer.
Yeah.
Sandy soil, it doesn't have much water retention. Say goodbye to your water profile.
Yeah.
So yeah, we may have a higher average rainfall, but it comes in spurts. It's feast or famine for us.
It is.
So you got to take that in consideration. Yeah, it looks good right now, but you got to know your area, know your soil, and what it can do.
Well, and maximizing, Ben talks a lot, maximizing every plant, instead of more plants. Every plant is another mouth to feed.
Yep.
So if you've got your soils up to a nutrient production cycling program up to a certain threshold, is our seed population matching that? Is are the plants out there? Are there enough okay. If you've got this much nutrients cycling through your soil, is your planting populations matching that to the best of your knowledge?
Right.
Do you have more mouths than you can feed yet? Or do you have more nutrition available that you could pack some more plants in there? I think my average population this year was around 21,500 on corn.
Yep, which is a lot less than what we've done in the past. We used to go, 23 to 24,000?
Yeah.
Almost across the board. And you and
24.5.
Yeah.
24.5.
I backed mine way down. They were talking a hot, dry summer, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to throw any more money out there than I have to.
Yeah. But we've seen 20,000 pop
exactly
corn break 200. We have seen it time and time again.
For my National Corn Growers Contest last year, I was running in a strip of corn that was planted at 23.5, had zero extra added attention. I mean, we're talking it had in-furrow treatment, top dress, that's it. It was bumping 300 on the yield monitor, and I wasn't doing the old yank the throttle back and forth. I was just sitting there.
Is this real?
Yeah, I called Dad on the radio, and I said, I think I'm going to have another contest spot. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm watching it bump 300 right here.
That does not happen here,
no, that doesn't
by
happen.
the way.
I've never...
You break 200 on a yield monitor?
Yeah.
If you break 240 on a yield monitor here, it is call the
something.
Family, we're throwing a picnic,
You're
and
doing
this
something,
is...
yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm watching it bounce around 300. I'm thinking, this is 23,500. 23,000 is all I'm putting out here.
You're getting 11 to 12. Or let's see. Per thousand. It'd be bushels per thousand.
Yeah.
So, if you're maximizing, they say if 10 is 10 bushel per thousand, if you've got 23.5, then 235 bushel corn. But you were in the 12, 13 bushel per thousand.
Yep. And so you take that down. Let's just back it up here to population wise. You're looking at 20,000. Is there a chance you might be able to increase your yield in the poorer ground? I had 23.5 across that whole field.
Reduce your risk.
I didn't change anything on that planter. I just held 23.5 and sent it. Mm-hmm. So am I going to possibly increase the yield in the 20,000 seed per acre because I've got less mouths to feed? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's worth a shot. It's worth seeing what we can do.
Worst case scenario, it doesn't yield as good and you don't have as much input costs on seed.
Yep. And what are we talking? Maybe $5-6 an acre difference?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it would be. But still, every little bit matters.
Yeah.
Every little bit matters. So going back to your population thing is the best recommendation I can give guys. get your soil prepared. Make sure you're not planting into a weedy mess. Make sure you've got your proper management taken care of. Before I give you a seed rec, I'm going to say, know your soil, know your conditions. Don't be dumb about it. If you've got a complete weed mess and things look like a disaster,
don't blame the seed.
Don't blame the seed, and be safe. Plant a safe population. Plant something that you know is going to work. Don't go wild. I guess this is more for beans than it is for corn. But, for beans, I've seen 50,000 seeds to the acre work. And I've also seen this, I guess this is going to be a side tangent story, but I had a field drown out, and I went in and replanted it. It was 140,000 original stand. And I thought, well, that ain't going to, I'm not going to get any recovery. So I went back and planted another 140,000. So what's that? 280,000 seeds to the acre? Made 50.
Yeah.
So I've seen high populations work. I've seen low populations work. Beans are such a forgiving crop that I think you can fudge a little bit one way or the other. But the main thing I can tell you guys is know your soil, know your conditions, be smart about it, and understand the risks that are involved with, 1, lowering your population, or 2, raising your population. I don't think there's any need in our area to be pushing over 140,000 seeds to the acre. I don't think there's any need for that. Maybe in a double crop situation where you're wanting more canopy, more ground cover, but
yeah, less time for pod fill and everything else.
I mean, be smart about it. Be smart about it. I think 100,000 seed to the acre here is probably a good safe number. For guys that are wanting to highly manage and understand the risks, 75 down to 50,000 is doable. But you got to remember, you do run the risk of a failure. You might have to go replant, and there's just things that happen that are out of your control.
Yeah.
So you got to understand those risks, and if you understand those risks and accept those risks, by all means, plant 75, plant 50, whatever you think can make work.
Sure.
But just know what you're getting into before you do it.
Yeah, and don't go crazy. I've had numerous conversations just in the last 10 days with guys that, hey, man, I've heard you talk about low pop on this. I want to go for it. And every single one of them, I said, do not try it on 5 acres or 10 acres this year.
Yep.
Do not risk the profitability of your farm based off of a piece of advice I gave you before you try it. Yep. Because if a guy calls me and says, I want to try 50,000 pot beans on this piece of ground, you think I should do it? I am not going to say, yeah, go for it.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, try, kind of like Preston. I tell Preston, he's like, man, I don't know. I can't imagine, so 80,000 is kind of my sweet spot on beans.
Yep.
Pretty safe for different variants of soils. Got some soils I'll bump at 90, 95, and I've got some that I 55,000.
Yeah.
I've raised 89 bushel beans on 55,000 pop.
Guys need to understand there is a germination percentage too.
Yes.
Just because you drop 80,000 doesn't mean you're going to pop up 80,000.
Last couple of years had a lot of 90% germ seed.
85 even.
Or 85, yeah.
I'm guilty of that. It just, the growing conditions down here have been subpar. They've been terrible.
They suck.
So you got to take that into consideration too. I'm going to plant, let's just say you're going to plant 100,000 and your germination rate is 85%. 85% of 100,000 is 85,000. So guys, take that into consideration before you decide to drop.
That's a good tidbit.
So that's a helpful hint I can give you. And get your soil conditions in good shape. If you're going to lower populations, make sure you're not planting into pavement. Make sure you're not planting into mud holes. There are variables that have to be considered before doing any of this.
Just being a good farmer.
Exactly. Good management practices.
Don't get in a rush.
Exactly.
Don't get in a rush.
If you can slow down, let's just say you average 7 to 7.5 planting beans, and you want a lower population.
Mile an hour?
Back her down a mile an hour. See how you get along.
I can't go that fast.
I bet you'd be just fine.
I just can't bring myself to go that fast. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it's nice to go that fast, but at the same
I
time,
know it is. I planted corn at 9 miles an hour last year on the 107 because I was dodging those storms. It did great.
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of opened my eyes a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe I could boogie a little better.
Held singulation fine. That's kind of where I was at this year. I had one field.
It's like riding a bucking bull in that tractor across that field.
How fast can you handle it?
Yeah, it's exactly. Your planter can handle it just as fine as you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're about out of time. But so that's growing. That's through the growing season, and then harvest. I don't know. That's kind of I don't know, you kind of learn a lot. That's the result time.
Yep. Yeah, and that's exciting time for us. You and I, we're burning the phones up. Hey, how'd this plot do? Or how'd this variety do?
Yeah.
Very exciting. And that's something with the seed side of things is there's never a dull moment. I love every aspect of it.
And then you roll right into wheat.
Exactly.
At least here.
I don't just sell corn and beans like we said at the beginning. I've got cover crops, forages. I've got guys calling right now thinking about, sorghum Sudan planting here in 2 weeks. So I'm researching that on top of the soybeans. It's exciting. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
For coming on.
Absolutely.
I've had a couple of people ask me to have you come on.
Okay.
So, and it rained here. We got our corn in. Kind of was like, Friday it worked out for Caleb to come up and film the podcast. And so, yeah, I wanted to bring, like I said, just find a good seed dealer. Find one you trust. Find one honestly, if you can find one that cares more about your crop and its performance than you do, you've hang on to that person, because it is an area of delegation that I think is so overlooked by farmers so many times, because I quit looking so hard. Like really, I told Heathman, I was like, dude, I'm just going to finish up. I'm going to throw this in my planter and roll. And he's like, hang on. Let's talk about the kind of ground you're going in, this and that, this and I'm sitting here like, oh, come on, I want to get done. But he's got your best interests in mind, a good one will. And I wanted to bring the seed dealer in just to talk about, because as farmers, we're always, we've got a relationship with our seed dealer, but I don't know any, and I'm sure someone's done a podcast or talk or something in regards from seed dealer looking out to the farmer. But I just wanted to bring that to our audience, and we farm right next to each other. We're always bouncing ideas off each other. Have you tried this? Let's try this. Let's not do this, so on and so forth. And just learning a lot. You learn so much, from, I don't know, not just your seed dealer, but someone else. And then your seed dealer, a good one is going to tell you a lot about other areas of agronomy that aren't just seed. Like, hey, I was in this guy's field and I saw him doing this with his side dress. And I saw a good response from that.
Yeah.
That brings he brings you value in an area that he is not. That's not a seed sale.
I'm in a lot of areas. I see a lot of different practices, and I take notes because there might be something they're doing that I might, be able to implement on my farm. Or you and I, we could take this back and brainstorm like, that might be something we want to try.
Right.
And that's by getting out, seeing things, seeing different country. I love taking deliveries out. I took some stuff out to Sterling. That's some interesting country out in Sterling, Kansas. And, it's very interesting to think back how different just a couple 60, 70 miles are in the state of Kansas. So seeing what they do out there, learning different techniques, different practices, I can bring back to my operation and yours, and put them in the best way going forward.
Networking,
exactly right.
So cool. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks
Appreciate
for having
your
me
time.
on.
Congrats on the new baby.
Thank you. It's been a blast.
And,
this was a lot of fun today.
Game on. All right, guys. We've subscribe if you would, share if you want to. See, this is on YouTube. We've got Facebook, Instagram. Are we on Twitter?
I don't know. I tag you guys.
Are we on Twitter? You don't. I don't know. I don't know if we're on Twitter. A bunch of our guys are on Twitter.
If not, start tagging them on Twitter.
I should probably. But YouTube channel. We got the blog. We got the website. Merch is live.
I need to get on the site. Look at that.
Merch is live.
Man.
I hope this is one of the hoodies we're offering. We've got some that we're trialing to launch later in the year.
Yeah,
anyway, merch is live. On the website, I was sent a notification that this week. Anyway, and look for singular field signs coming to a field near you.
Yep. Looking good.
So your wife sent me a text during this to let me know the progress status of that.
She's always working, isn't she?
She is. So anyway, cool guys. Thank you. Appreciate y'all's time, and Heathman, your time as well.
I guess in the words of Ryan Gibbs, farm on.
Farm on.
Farm on.
See you guys.
See ya.